This morning, Pam Bondi is out as Attorney General. Earlier this week, she was by President Trump's side when he made the unprecedented move to attend the Supreme Court hearing. But on Thursday, the president posting, "We love Pam. She'll be transitioning to a new job in the private sector," where Bondi says she's thrilled to continue fighting for President Trump. Two sources familiar with the matter telling NBC News Trump and Bondi had a heated confrontation at the White House last week, although the sources did not specify what it was about. Replacing her for now, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who once served as the president's personal defense lawyer during his hush money trial in New York. Bondi is a former Florida Attorney General who served on President Trump's defense team during his first impeachment trial.
So help me God.
As the U.S. Attorney General, she was a lightning rod.
You don't tell me anything.
I did tell you.
Repeatedly clashing with Democrats, but drawing praise from the president.
She's going to go down as a great Attorney General. I may change my mind about that.
Still, last September, the president posted publicly on social media what an administration official says was intended to be a direct message to Bondi, pressuring her to prosecute his political opponents.
What just happened, guys? So let's start. Adam is here. Donald Trump just fired his own Attorney General. Let me say that again so it sinks in. Pam Bondi is out. Gone. Fired. According to multiple sources, including the Daily Mail, Bondi was begging not to be fired last night before Trump gave his address to the nation. When Trump told her, "I'm going to fire you," she pleaded with him over and over again. We are hearing it was extremely dramatic. She was almost in tears. "Please don't fire me." Those were her words. Well, moments ago, she got exactly what she was begging to avoid. The pink slip, the walking papers, the end of the line. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche will now serve as acting Attorney General.
Now let's go live to CBS News Homeland Security correspondent Nicole Skangas. So Nicole, what can you tell us from your vantage point there?
Hi, Reed. Good to be with you. Well, I just learned from several senior administration officials that news broke of his new role from the president himself, President Trump calling Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche as the news was breaking that Pam Bondi would be ousted, the Attorney General there, to tell him basically he was up, that he would serve as acting Attorney General until a permanent replacement could be found. I'm told that while there had been ongoing conversations, this news was the first that Todd Blanche was learning about this, straight from the source, straight from the President of the United States, following what was a somewhat tumultuous 14-month tenure of Pam Bondi. And
Trump posted a message announcing that Bondi will now go into private practice. She will be far away from the government, though let's be honest, she will probably use that private practice job to do business with the government. More on that later. Pam Bondi is a great American patriot, Trump wrote, and a loyal friend who faithfully served as my Attorney General over the past year. Pam did a tremendous job overseeing a massive crackdown in crime across our country, with murders plummeting to their lowest level since 1900. Let me translate that for you. "Don't tell anybody about the Epstein secrets, Pam." He goes on, "We love Pam, and she will be transitioning to a much-needed and important new job in the private sector." Pause right there. What does that mean? Probably helping people get pardons from your administration with her family. To be announced at a date in the near future. Why would you have anything to do with that if you are supposed to be moving on? And our Deputy Attorney General, a very talented and respected legal mind, Todd Blanche, will step in to serve as acting Attorney General. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump. The Daily Mail exclusive is worth reading in full. Bondi begged Trump not to fire her during a dramatic White House showdown as insiders reveal his final straw. The same reporting says Trump told Pam Bondi shortly before the Iran speech on Wednesday night that she would soon be fired. Trump's reasoning for the sudden dismissal comes in part because the president believes Bondi tipped off Eric Swalwell about the FBI's efforts to release investigative documents relating to his relationship with a Chinese national.
As I'm sure you saw, Shelby Talcott from Semaphore was on with me earlier today, and she's been reporting that part of the reason Bondi was fired is that Trump suspects that Bondi leaked some information to you about an effort by the administration to release files from a 10-year-old closed investigation into your relationship with an alleged Chinese spy. Did Bondi or anyone in her orbit leak information to you, Congressman?
No, the Attorney General did not tip us off. No one in her orbit tipped us off. It was FBI agents who tipped off the Washington Post.
But let me tell you what I think. I think this has a lot more to do with the Epstein files and the cover-up that Donald Trump wanted being completely botched by Pam Bondi. But sure, let's go with the official story. Fox News, which at this point is basically state regime media, confirmed that Pam Bondi was out as Attorney General and Todd Blanche would be the interim. Let me show you the moment it happened. Now, what are Democrats in Congress saying about this? Here is the key detail that everyone needs to understand. Pam Bondi is still set to have her deposition taken before the House Oversight Committee. She is still under subpoena. Firing her does not make that subpoena disappear. Democratic Congressman Maxwell Frost posted, Pam Bondi still has to testify under oath in front of the Oversight Committee regarding the Epstein files. This does not get her out of that bipartisan lawful subpoena. We will see her soon. That is a promise. That is a warning. Bondi may be out of the administration, but she is not out of the legal crosshairs. Democratic Congresswoman Summer Lee posted, so glad I didn't listen to James Comer when he told me to stop bitching about impeaching Bondi and holding her accountable. As you may recall, Congresswoman Lee was leading the impeachment efforts against Bondi. The impeachment documents were going to be introduced as soon as Democrats took control of Congress. Bondi would have been impeached. Now she is fired instead. But the accountability is not over. Pablo Manriquez from Midas Touch wrote, someone needs to find Jamie Raskin so he can say who's the washed-up loser lawyer now. That is a reference to Bondi's own words, and it stings because she said it first. Here is the thing. There was a sign last week that Bondi's days were numbered. Even MAGA Republican Congressman James Comer was throwing Bondi under the bus. Watch this. Let me rewind a little bit and walk you through Bondi's career collapse because it did not happen overnight. This has been building for months. Remember back when Bondi gave that interview on state regime media? They pulled that stunt with the influencers at the White House holding the fake Epstein files, that little thin binder, and she stood there saying, okay, that wasn't it, but I've got the files on my desk. Remember that? Remember when she called Jamie Raskin a washed-up loser lawyer? You're a washed-up loser lawyer. Those were her words. She said them on camera. She meant them, and now she is the one who got washed out. I remember Bondi's crash out over Epstein. Her famous line, the Dow is over 50,000. As if that had anything to do with anything. And then remember the stunt Bondi tried to pull 3 weeks ago? You could see how desperate she was. With 24 hours notice, she tried to get out of her April 14th subpoena date, where she was supposed to be deposed by the House Oversight Committee. She showed up in front of the committee voluntarily. She said, I'm showing up to talk to you about Epstein. I'm going to tell you everything I would say at the deposition, but I'm just not going to do it under oath. The Democrats walked out. They said, we are not going to be part of this charade. We are not going to be there at all. You are just trying to get out of your subpoena deposition. And the Democrats left. And then Bondi left. And people asked her, so are you going to try to avoid your April 14th deposition? You are still under subpoena. And she said, I will follow what the law says. Well, if you were going to follow what the law says, you should not have been covering up the Epstein files in the first place. And you are still concealing millions of documents. Most recently, Donald Trump said that Bondi is terrific. He said she is proving how tough she is. He said over the next 3 years, she is going to really prove how tough she is. That was pretty recent. So this just goes to show you that Trump will make comments like that and then fire you in a second. Even if you beg the way Pam Bondi was apparently begging. Trump saying she is terrific. She is proving how tough she is. And then, in what seemed like a last-ditch effort to save her job before she was fired, Bondi went on state regime media recently and said something stunning. She said, being a citizen in this country is a privilege, not a right. Let me be clear about this. It is quite literally a constitutional right if you are a citizen of the United States. The Constitution does not say citizenship is a privilege. It says it is a right. But Bondi went on television and said the opposite. This was her trying to save her job. This was her audition to stay. and it did not work. So Pam Bondi's days are numbered. They were numbered the moment she botched Donald Trump's desire to cover up the Epstein files. By the way, did you see our early morning video where we perfectly predicted what was going to happen? We called it. We said Bondi was on the way out. And here we are. Now they are going to bring in new people. Lee Zeldin, the EPA director, is being considered to be the new Attorney General. Right now, Todd Blanche is filling the role of acting Attorney General. But bye-bye, Pam Bondi. See you later. You are fired. And remember, we recently saw Kristi Noem fired. We saw everything going on behind the scenes there with her family and the hypocrisy. Pam Bondi is now gone. And now we are hearing that Tulsi Gabbard is basically next. There is a commonality there. You can decide what that commonality is for yourself. Let me break down exactly what happened and why it matters. The timeline is important. Bondi was summoned to the White House. She thought it was a routine meeting. Instead, Trump told her she was done. She begged. She pleaded. She asked him to reconsider. According to insiders, it was emotional. She was nearly crying. Trump did not budge. The decision was made. The Iran speech was coming. Trump wanted the news cycle to be about something else, so he waited until after the speech to make it official. But the word leaked. The Daily Mail got the story. And by the time Trump posted his Truth Social message, everyone already knew. Why was Bondi really fired? The official reason is that Trump believed she tipped off Eric Swalwell about FBI investigative documents. But that reason does not hold water. Swalwell is a Democrat. Why would Bondi tip him off? The more believable explanation is the Epstein files. Bondi was supposed to manage the document release. She was supposed to control the narrative. She was supposed to make sure the most damaging information never saw the light of day. And she failed. Millions of pages are still missing. Internal indices show documents exist that have not been released. Lawmakers from both parties are demanding answers. And Bondi could not deliver the cover-up that Trump wanted. So she got fired. The deposition that still looms over her is the key to everything. Bondi is under subpoena to testify before the House Oversight Committee about the Epstein files. That deposition is still scheduled. Firing her does not cancel it. She still has to show up. She still has to answer questions under oath. And if she lies, that is perjury. If she tells the truth, she implicates Trump. She is trapped, and she knows it. That is why she begged not to be fired. That is why she was almost crying. Because being fired is bad. But being fired and then having to testify under oath about the very thing you got fired for? That is a nightmare. The Democratic response has been swift and sharp. Frost is right. The subpoena does not go away. Lee is right. The impeachment effort was real. And the fact that even Republicans like Comer were turning on Bondi last week shows that her support had evaporated. When your own party starts throwing you under the bus, your days are numbered. Bondi's were numbered. Now they are up. Let me talk about what comes next. Todd Blanche is now the acting Attorney General. He is a Trump loyalist. He defended Trump in the New York criminal case. He knows how to play the game. But he is not confirmed by the Senate. He is an acting placeholder. The real fight will be over who gets the permanent job. Lee Zeldin is a name being floated. He is currently the EPA director. He has no Justice Department experience. But that does not matter to Trump. Loyalty matters. Covering up matters. Doing what you are told matters. Zeldin would do what Trump wants. That is the qualification. But here is the problem for Trump. Whoever takes over still has to deal with the Epstein files. The law is the law. The subpoenas are real. The missing millions of pages are not going to disappear just because Bondi is gone. The new Attorney General will inherit the same mess, and if they continue the cover-up, they will face the same consequences. Bipartisan obstruction warnings. Possible contempt of Congress. Potential impeachment. Bondi is gone, but the pressure on the Justice Department is not going anywhere. And then there is Bondi herself. What happens to her now? She goes into private practice. That is what Trump said. But private practice doing what? Representing clients who want pardons? Lobbying the administration she just left? There are rules against that. There are cooling off periods. There are ethics laws. But those laws only matter if someone enforces them. And the people who would enforce them are the same people who just fired her. So do not hold your breath. The bigger picture here is about accountability. Bondi was supposed to be the one holding the line. She was supposed to be the tough attorney general who would not be pushed around. Instead, she was pushed around by Trump. She was fired by Trump. She begged Trump not to fire her. And now she is going to testify under oath about whether she helped Trump cover up the Epstein files. That is the story. That is the scandal. That is why this matters. Remember the clips we just watched. Bondi holding that fake binder. Bondi calling Raskin a washed-up loser. Bondi talking about the Dow being over 50,000 as if that had anything to do with anything. Bondi trying to weasel out of her subpoena by showing up voluntarily but refusing to testify under oath. Bondi saying citizenship is a privilege, not a right. That was her trying to save her job. That was her audition. And she still got fired. So let me leave you with this. Pam Bondi is gone, but the Epstein files are still missing. The subpoena is still active, the investigation is still ongoing, and Trump still has to answer for why he signed a transparency law and then oversaw the most opaque document release in modern history. Bondi was the fall guy. She took the hit. But she is not the last one. There will be more. There always are.